I will play Zerg. Specifically, we're gonna do a basic Zerg build. Alright, Zerg versus Protoss is a lot about momentum. As a Zerg player, you're looking to figure out whether a Protoss player is gonna attack you, or if they're gonna do any sort of shenanigans, or if they're gonna try to be very economic. There's a few ways you can get out ahead of them. I'm going to be going for a pull first, but I'm not going for a big cheese or anything like that. It's just to make sure I don't die to proxy gates or proxy cannons or even shield batteries or anything like that. And also a big thing about Zerg is Overlord placements. These are things that pretty much are the same every game. Like my first Overlord against Protoss especially, but in general I'm going to send towards the enemy base. And what I'm going to be doing is working my way up early on to Zergling speed. My second Overlord here on 13 supply. I'm going to send it towards the main, because by the time it gets there, I'll probably, right around the 3 to 4 minute mark, want to send it in and get some information as to what's happening in the main base, because a lot of Protoss players will expand early. So we're just going to go for the spawning pull on 17. No gas. I'm not going for a bunch of lings. This is pretty much safety here. And then, well, you don't usually drone scout as a Zerg player. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look around. We're going to see, are there any gateways over here? And if there aren't, because this is where you'd proxy a gateway, take a look around at the little corners. And we're going to go back, because this drone is going to be lining up an expansion. It's around 17 supply. We see his probe coming across. And I'm hotkeying it in, setting up my camera locations. I have a video on that, if you want to see it. And get my gas geyser right around here. Now we're saving up for a queen, in order to be able to get that right off the bat. So the things I could be worried about here. I'm not really worried that much about a cannon rush. I see the probe, and I would have seen any probes coming across for the most part. So we really just want to see what his follow-up is, getting an Overlord now. This Overlord, I'm actually going to put over near the third base area, because a lot of Protoss players will take a third base. You can just click on the egg, rally it from there. Another important thing to be able to do is to hotkey from eggs as a Zerg. So just for show, I'm going to make 2 more eggs as Zerglings. Control click them. Now, that you don't necessarily need to do that, but shift 1, and now they're in the hotkey, even without starting yet. Thank you, Aiden.
Hey, Winter, what's up?
So, even before the Zerglings pop out, they already know where their brood is. Okay. We see he potentially has some stalkers coming out here. That's... Can we see if he has an expansion? I'm going to go through this probe. No expansion. All right. We got to go through the panic alarms. Queen. We're getting a queen. He has a Stargate. So this means we're going to need more queens. When in doubt, more queens. He's doing something pretty cheesy if he doesn't have a base yet. But you got to be careful not to have too low of an economy as well.
You're engaging the opponent. Time to raise your
There's a stalker over here. I can get this in position to see whether he's expanding. And I'm going to get, pretty soon, I'm going to get spore crawlers as well. I want to try to get creep spread between my main and my natural base, my second base. And make some Zerglings here. We see he's expanding behind this. He's not going all in. So we're going to get a spore crawler to defend. And I'm just going to have these 2 queens. I'm a little supply block, so I'll do a little extractor trick to get over supply. Not really that important to be doing. And I've got a lot of Zerglings. The Stalker actually sees me, but this is a little high ground. You got to keep a lookout for those as a Zerg player.
Warriors have engaged the enemy.
Now, I usually wouldn't go for a lair this early. I usually, if he had expanded early on, I would have gone for a third base before the 4-minute mark. But if he's going to go for an expansion this late, that is why I'm going for this. Now, he has a lot of units back there. I'm going to look towards a Baneling nest.
OMG! Spawn more Overlords!
But getting the lair will allow me to get... I'm going to go for Hydralisks, which doesn't mean I have to attack him, but Hydralisks are a good
Need more minerals.
option, especially if he opened up with a Stargate or a bunch of gateway units, because Hydralisks and Zerglings go together very well. Gonna get a single Spore Crawler over here. I'm getting my second Gas Geyser. Don't want to be getting my second Gas Geyser as a Zerg until around 30 drones at the very minimum. You gotta be careful. Looks like we've driven away the Oracle here. Lair is done.
Will be rewarded.
Really appreciate your attitude towards us fans.
Glad you enjoy.
Fun more.
And now here's the important thing. I'm not wondering how to attack him, I'm wondering how to defend. Because I want to take another base as a Zerg. I want to get an evolution chamber started by the 6-minute mark, and ideally an upgrade. I'm going to make an Overseer, and I'm going to shift queue it into the base to see what he has behind this. We're going to shift click off 1. You can look at the shift key guide. 1 Zergling to the watchtowers to get that little bit of extra vision. We see a Twilight Council, which means possibly glaived adepts.
Need more energy. Are you
Allows those adepts to attack super fast and be super strong. So it's very dangerous. Even Hydralisk can take a lot of damage, but if I'm careful to get enough units before he gets close,
You require more Vespene.
I dropped a Changeling in there. You can tell because he just keeps warping in these adepts. It appears like he's very interested in just the adepts themselves. So I'm at 40 drones. I can take a couple more gases.
You're
I don't
engaging the
really
opponent.
need any
Time to
upgrades
raise
right
your
now.
APM.
I'm going to get some Overlords dropping creep on the third bases. I'm going to get just a few more, 43, 44 drones. And we're working towards the Hydralisks. Get into the Gas Geyser, 3 in each gas. Get a Spore Crawler over here. Maybe he'll try to sneak in Dark Templar, which wouldn't be very nice. And I have vision. Oh, looks like he wants to go out for another base. So that tells me I've got a little bit of time to make drones. He sent a probe out here to take another base. I've got a little bit of time to make drones because I already have some units at home to defend. I gotta make sure I'm not supply blocked. But it's safe to make drones when your opponent is trying to expand. That's a good time to do it. Now you gotta be careful. You don't want to just keep making drones because he still has a lot of adepts there. So I'm gonna get some more Zerglings out. And then if he moves out to attack, which I have all this vision of, I can make them into Banelings. And the Banelings do a lot of extra damage to the adepts. Looks like he has a High Templar back there. So what that means, he's going to have access to maybe Storm, which is pretty scary. So to counter that, I'm going to get some Lurkers. I'm actually going to get the melee attack upgrades, which also increases the strength of Banelings.
Your supply
Okay, we see he's coming across. Going to get some...
insufficient Vespene gas.
I'm going to hotkey these in. I'm not using the Select Arming hotkey. I'm just using Control Click and Shift Click. But those shades don't have as much vision as the regular adepts. So if I stay back a little bit as I transfer workers, get another base. But I have 55 drones. That's pretty good. He has these adepts over here. And I'm going to go in and get them. We're going to get a few Hydras to go snipe this off. Shift-clicking them. You can check that shift key guide in the guides, of course. An infestation pit here. And I'm making some more Hydras. Storm is very good against Hydras, Lings, and Banelings, so you gotta be very careful. You gotta be very careful not to attack just from one angle. Lurkers are also very good. So what I think I'm gonna do, because I've gotten, as you can see up in that top right, I've gotten up to 60 drones, which
Warriors have engaged the
is
enemy.
good. It's very good, but it's not super great if we were going to the super late game. But if he doesn't have a third base, 60 drones is okay.
Supply blocked. More
Oh, getting supply blocked because he killed those overlords. That's not very nice. But I got the infestation pit, potentially for infestors. And also a big one is going to Hive. Now, I don't necessarily want any Hive tech now, but I mean, why not have access to broodlords and vipers and adrenal glands for zerglings? I'm getting a bunch of zerglings, speaking of. And we're going to turn these guys into lurkers here. And we're putting everything together. Now, before I move out with everything, I'm going to put a spine crawler next to the spore crawler in each mineral line. I'm using those camera locations to shift through. We're going to get several banelings. And I'm trying to figure out where that army went right now. That's what I'm looking for. Let's get some more upgrades. I was going for the ground attack. Honestly, +1 carapace or ranged attack would have been fine here as well. But we see he has this base, and that is what I want to attack. Using my injects. Now, injects, the way injects work is you can queue multiple injects. I can inject this hatchery again. What that does, you don't get more larvae. You don't get more larvae when the larva inject comes off. But when the larva inject comes off, now let's see it here, and you can do this several times. I think 5 is the limit. I'm not 100%, but just use all that energy. It'll immediately larva inject and have another round of spawn larvae. So you can queue them up. You can't stack them, but you can queue them, if that makes sense.
Spawn more overlords.
Alright. So I have a couple options here. The lurkers will be able to outrange a lot of this. I can just kind of crash in. Thank you for that.
You have taught me much, and I am continuing to learn.
Oh, he sees everything. That's actually really good for him.
OMG.
But we're gonna see. We got the lurkers. Now, storms are gonna be good. But we just have enough lurkers, and they're pretty well spread out. Because storms do not stack, remember. We should get an overseer. I want to spread out my lurkers so they don't all just die. But now I gotta remember what I'm doing at home. I'm gonna get the adrenal glands. I'm gonna get an Ultralisk Cavern is good. A Spire is better for Greater Spire. But he has a lot of storms, so what I'm gonna do is try to get those High Templar with just the Banelings. We're just gonna bring the Banelings in to go for the High Templar. And there you go. And that opens up the opportunity to attack. And that's why Banelings, you gotta be careful. If you just attack everything in at once, the Protoss army is still very strong. But Banelings, High Templar are light units. They're very squishy. Can just kill them.
Mutation complete. Not enough energy.
I have some Zealots over here. I didn't actually build a Spore Crawler, so now I'm paying for it.
Your forces are taking damage.
We can build another round of
damage.
Banelings. GG. But the basics are, if your opponent isn't expanding, then taking a third base is greedy. If he wants to take a third, you can be taking a fourth. As a Zerg, you're trying to stay one base ahead of a Protoss, and you're trying to keep up on those upgrades. It's also it's also important not to take your gas geysers too early. You can take your first gas in your first 20 supply, but your second gas shouldn't be taken until after 30 drones, your third gas and fourth gas after 35 drones. Otherwise, you won't have enough minerals to build the units you need. You can build roaches, you can build ravagers, whatever. But the big thing is having those drones at the right time, so you have enough money to do what you need to do. Yeah, same APM as a Protoss player, but it's not about how much you have. It's about how you use it.
Yes, yes, yes. Just as I deserve.
Can you please tell me? I always play toss.